is the black night of the soul. I wake up in this horrid dream, monstrous creatures, the dark, resurfacing. It hurts. It's the memory that has to be dealt with, not the reality. But still, the past is my worst enemy, and I don't want to go back there. As the crucible spilled its dark residue, we had to go back there. As my memory dimmed, striving to forget what happened there, the crew, or what remained of it after the blot, scattered across the lands, and now I have to find them again, to reassemble what's been called the remnants. All I do is resist, but the voice grows stronger and stronger each day. I am at my resistance's end, and as the hours pass, I feel I shall let it all go. It's too powerful. I better commit suicide before turning back there. Days and nights without rest, haunted by dread and feverish deluges, have brought me to the brink of madness. As I write these lines, flashes of the unspeakable pass before my eyes, fragments of horror that no waking state of mind can piece together. I cannot reconcile with what I've done, nor with what I've seen. In the long dunes between dusk and dawn, my thoughts thrash in a storm of blood-soaked memories, each one tearing at the fabric of my sanity. I can no longer trace the path of recollection, nor set down the horrors on paper without feeling the mind slip like sand through my fingers. I have come to see memory as a thing of the flesh, for the body now bears the weight of what my mind can no longer hold. Deep within me, the very entrails know the truth that no tongue could ever tell, the truth that rises in its unspeakable atrocity beyond all evil. It is the moment when consciousness, torn from the body, unravels, decays, and poisons the flesh when, like the venom of a cobra, seeping into the blood until it becomes the very poison of the soul, and madness takes its throne for good. I shall attempt, however feebly, to commit to paper the fleeting fragments of my experience in those woods, those unforgiving, bloated places where nothing human has ever walked, where man himself would be the least likely evil, and where history dares not cast its light. Today, as I try to sit before pen and page, the thought of suicide has whispered to me like a lullaby. It is the only comfort left, the one soothing promise that holds me to this world, the thought that with rope or poison, I might end this endless torment, and that beyond oblivion, perhaps, lies absolution. But that path is still before me. The voice grows louder, more commanding with each passing day. The other night, during one of its attacks, when it ordered me to return to the territory, I seized the kitchen knife and cut off both my ears, hoping to silence it for a while. But apart from the fainting and the blood loss, I gained no peace. Nightfall comes with visions and broken shards of imagery brimstone, drowning, a vast terror spreading through all things, and that mortal stab in my chest, which I now accept as normality. Even so, these lines shall be my last. At dusk, I shall end this wretched farce. The rope is ready tied firm to the strongest beam in the attic. It alone is my final glimmer of light. To those who come after, once these morbid events have run their course, I leave this journal. I pray that, overlooking my madness and the shattered nature of these thoughts, they may piece together the abominations that have taken place and draw their own conclusions. The voice gives me no rest. I must prepare. 1093, an Amphion Oct of departure. I commit myself to the road toward Dark Sylvania. This day marks the 8th dune upon the way. The other 3 are as I am bare of recollection of what had transpired. And yet, here we are. It rained without cease, that kind of rain which brings forth a dense and unearthly smog, transgressing every twilight into a macabre visage. The days are but brief intervals of dim, reluctant light. We walk along the rutted roads, halting in small clearings or beneath the heavy boughs of ancient trees. If the rain would be a creature, it must be an ice-blooded, venomous serpent, slithering beneath our garments in the small hours only to envenom us. All are silent. There is nothing to say. With every hamlet we've abandoned, every hilltop and woodland pass left behind, we feel the territory's magnetic call. It lures us, seduces us, binds us beyond any power of resistance. No thought can I break the dread murmur of the voice which, though not always commanding, whispering behind the mind, hissing like a poisonous spring of pitch, grinning demonically in the deep chambers of the ear where once the soul had made its nest of memories. But no, such solace is forbidden. The wagon creaks and groans at every joint, and the coachman is the vilest of men. Ever do I hear him curse and lash the poor mare with a thick whip wrought from a macker's tail. The beast panted, half mad with pain, yet he didn't cease. Again and again he struck her with beastly fervor. At times he laughs to himself, as if conversing with some unseen companion. And when he's not laughing, he enters in sudden fits where some dark malice seizes his voice. He mutters strange words and short, whistling phrases that chill the marrow. Yet most harrowing of all is the mare's tortured neighing, a sound to mutilate the soul itself. Last eve, at supper, I beheld the wretched creature nothing but flesh and bone, a four-legged cadaver like some wendigo of the wilds, her spine and ribs a mangled relic of living flesh, scourged raw by the whip. As she fed from a pail of moldy hay, I saw her blood mingling with the thin rain, pooling beneath her into a crimson mire. I turned away in horror, yet the coachman, perceiving my revulsion, seized once more his instrument of torment and scourged her until she fell upon her knees in that ghastly pool of blood and filth. Then, as if nothing had happened, he ordered the departure. We followed mindless, hollow, obedient, only to find in the back of the wagon that one of the remnants had cut his own throat with a rusty blade, another grim reminder of the moving terror between us, a pack of trapped rats in a rolling cage. Nobody said a word before we tossed his cadaver into a ravine, deep as an open wound beneath the bleak sky. In the night I managed to sleep a little. For but a fleeting moment I drifted into a dream and found myself again in the clearing of my childhood, gathering apples beside my father. He smiled at me, telling me that everything is going to be all right, but at that very instant, the dream was shattered by the most horrid of sounds. I started up, burning with terror. It was not the voice, no, it was a shrill keening, like the cry of a harpy, prolonged and piercing, drawing nearer and nearer until it consumed all other sound. The others awoke, staring wide-eyed through the ragged holes of the wagon's cover, seeking meaning in that unholy clamor. Suddenly the whole wagon jolted with an unspeakable violence, as though being a small boat in a sea tempest, and one of my comrades fell upon me, screaming from the depths of his bowels. Immediately, all turned over, becoming a chaos of limbs, cries, and splintered wood. How long it endured, I have no recollection. Were we dead? I only know that after some void of time, I felt my body as one vast wound, oozing vile and sticky humors. Upon my brow I felt a foul, oily substance trickling down my neck and chest, not my own. Later, I beheld the mangled visage of the man who had fallen upon me. Half his skull was smashed to pieces, and the other half impaled upon the twisted iron of the shattered frame, a grotesque fusion of flesh, blood, and wreckage. I passed out. When sense returned, I was no longer in the wagon, but lying in a cold, muddy pool. Around me lay the broken bodies of the others, dismembered, scattered like marionettes cast into a pit of dump. I felt life ebbing swiftly away, yet with the last of my strength I dragged myself onto a patch of blackened grass, strewn with conifer fruits. Pines, I was among the pines. Through the darkness I discerned faint shapes and contours, and there, not far off, the coachman's lantern still burned, fallen into a hollow. By its dim light I saw that horror which filled me with a grim, almost grateful justice. The coachman's head was gone. His massive body lay upright against a tree, as though he had merely removed his hat and sat to rest. I could not see what had become of the others, for then the horrid sounds rose again, a hissing, as of great serpents or hydras, cutting the air above the treetops. And then I saw them, 3 in number, gliding between the trunks with impossible speed, their long, greasy bodies cloaked in tatters of black cloth, great, fluttering rags as though torn from the robes of giants. I could not tell if they bore human shape, yet their heads were monstrous, drawing all remaining light unto themselves. Vast hoods concealed their faces, beneath which echoed a continuous howling, while their funeral shrouds billowed as they circled above the ruin of the wagon. One descended, seizing a limb from the ground before vanishing again among the crowns of the pines. Another swooped low above my head and struck at the mare, who still breathed, struggling to rise. That was her final act. In an instant, she was lifted as though by an unseen butcher, and her scream was cut short. Her lifeless carcass fell with a dull thud beyond the stones. Bereft of hope, I crawled beneath the roots of an ancient tree, awaiting my end, almost glad that those harpies, or demons of the dark, might finish me and deliver me from the poison of existence. Without a sound, gliding down from the heights of the pines, an abomination crept toward the roots beneath which I hid, only so that I might behold its face, or rather, the 2 whirling orbs, spinning like unholy gyres, that mocked me from the darkness of its hood. While it gazed upon me, I felt my body no more, nor the passage of time. That single, dreadful stare might have lasted but a moment, or an eternity for my memory. Can no longer make justice, yet whether by its own will, or by some darker judgment, the thing left me to the night and rain, vanishing along with the others into the thickening mist, not before raising a ghastly chime that swallowed the whole reality. And this was just the beginning of my demonic torment I came to call the deep, as the voice began to whisper my name once more.